Welcome to episode 6 of Fess Up, the video podcast for female maskers. I'm Rogue.
And I'm Kerry. It's hard to believe that we've actually had 3 hours of Fess Up now. We really appreciate you having the patience that it takes us to make these episodes, and you're sticking with us.
Yes, it's wonderful to have you join us for 2 years, and we look forward to what we can bring you in the future. We've got an excellent episode this time. We like to begin each episode with a segment where we discuss what we've been up to recently. We call it Fess Up. So, Kerry, what have you been up to?
Well, as you can see, I have a new outfit. I always try to have a different outfit for every show. This was purchased online. Rogue found it for me, and so I did not make it myself. Here we go.
It looks great on you. It was a good choice, a good color for you, and I think you're going to be happy with that.
Oh, well, thanks. Tell us about your outfit.
So, I based my outfit this time on Agent Peggy Carter from the Marvel Universe. This was Simplicity Pattern 8050, which, if you look at the pattern, it's clearly trying to represent her outfit with the blue dress, the white collar, and even the red hat. Didn't get the original aviatrix Stetson hat because it's really expensive, but I did my best to try to recreate that look. I just think she's a great character, a great heroine. I really like the TV series. I'm just rewatching the TV series, and it was a fun outfit to make. I realize, though, I must be going through a blue phase. This is my 3rd blue dress in 2 years, so I'm not sure how that happened. Interesting story behind making this outfit. I saw a mask online that I really liked, and thought that it might be good for this outfit, so I ordered it. It kind of reminded me of the actress Chloe Grace Moretz, who played Hit Girl in the Kick-Ass movies. And when I got it, unfortunately, it was not what I had hoped it would be. It's rather oversized, first of all, so proportions were a little off. Upon closer inspection, some of the sculpt wasn't quite as nice as it looked in the picture, like the eyes don't quite match, they're not symmetrical. So that was a little bit disappointing. I did size it to my face, and I took some pictures with it, but overall, it's just not as good as I had hoped it would be. And so I ended up using the May mask that I've worn before for this outfit.
But thanks, Rogue, for going out there and buying all these experimental masks. I know a lot of people wouldn't spend money on something not having seen any reviews or anything like that, so it's really great that you're doing that and reviewing these masks for us.
As I mentioned before, too, I'd like the manufacturers to know we are interested in seeing what they make. I did actually write back to this manufacturer and give them some feedback as a consumer and said, what I liked about it and what I didn't. One of the things I really liked about it is that they included the wig that they had showed in their picture, and that wig was a really nice wig, so it helped me feel a little bit better that the mask wasn't so good because it was such a good wig that they included.
Okay, well, cool. Thanks for that. Now it's a segment we call Speak Up, where I ask Rogue questions that you have submitted on the internet. Rogue has not seen these questions before, so we'll see what she has to say. The first one is from Lucy Morendi. What do you like most about silicone masks?
I think I like how realistic they are. I always want to show off my outfit. That's my primary focus. And having the realistic mask helps me, I think, with the presentation of the outfit. It doesn't detract if I have a face that isn't quite plausible. I think people will focus on that. I want them focusing on the outfit.
Yeah, for realism, silicone is the way to go. I used to make latex realistic masks, with open eye holes and stuff like that. But they just don't move very well. Latex just doesn't do that. And now, with this new silicone mask technology, if you are going for realism, it gives you a huge leg up. And certainly these days, the level of masking is way beyond what I could have possibly imagined when I started. So, yay on silicone. It is thicker. It can be a little hotter. For realism, it's great. Now, if you're still doing doll masks, I think latex is the way to go. There's no reason to have an expensive silicone mask when it's just going to be fixed and with painted eyes.
And I'm pleased that they are making the silicone thinner. It is more comfortable when it's thinner, and you get more realism out of it. So, I think there's something for everyone when it comes to silicone. Some manufacturers make it thicker, and they get the more dull look, like you mentioned. And some of them get thinner, and then it's more realistic. So it's a matter of preference. There's several options out there. The mask that I mentioned earlier that I didn't like so much, 2 years ago, I would have been thrilled with that. But others have come along that are even better, so that now I think the standard is just a little bit higher.
Rogue standards keep going up and up. And little King Doll Tinder asks, do you have any advice for going out in public for the first time as a doll? like for a kink fetish night at a local nightclub or LGBTQ event?
Well, I think the LGBTQ community has been accepting of what we've done. I have been to a few events, and under that banner, they've been very welcoming and interested in what I'm doing. I mentioned it before, and I'll say it again for emphasis. It's important to go out with someone. You are so much less likely to be bothered if you are with a companion. They can watch your back. They can see things you may not be able to see if your peripheral vision isn't so good, and help guide you in case there was something that you might run into. But just you're going to feel safer with another person there. So that's my first recommendation, is make sure you go out with someone. It's more fun, too.
Yeah, and they don't have to be masked either. They could just be, wearing civilian clothes or whatever. Back in the turn of the century, Rogue and I went to a couple nightclubs that no longer exist. And just, as usual, use good judgment if you're going to be going outside. Don't go to banks, post offices, or, places that people are going to think you're doing up to no good.
And comic book conventions, superhero conventions, those are great venues for this type of costuming. They're very welcoming, and you're going to fit in with all the other people in costume.
Nathan Gamer asks, Kerry, you should translate to Portuguese for Brazilians who love to watch your videos and understand more than it is. And Alex Wong also wants us to put in subtitles. So, that's something we've been thinking about for a while, is having some sort of closed captioning. Sometimes it's hard for people to understand what we're saying with the masks, because their voices are sort of muffled, and we do tweak them a little bit. Up till now, we've been relying on Google's automatically putting in the captions, and in some cases they're hilariously incorrect. So if I were to do that, I would have to get a transcription of the entire show and then type it in line by line to match what we're saying, and that would be in English. Now, obviously, I can't do it for every language. We don't speak Portuguese, we don't speak Russian, we don't speak German. But if the captions are in English, presumably there's a way that if you're in another country that they will automatically translate them as best they can. You are trusting a computer to do a translation from English to your language, and it might get some of the idioms and metaphors mixed up, so do the best. Now, the trade-off of this, of course, is it takes time to do this. So every week that it takes me longer to get the show ready to go is another week later that the next episode's going to be. So just understand that, we want the shows to be better, but we also want to keep them coming out in a regular schedule.
Well, I'd love to see it if you have the time to put those subtitles. I think the fans would really appreciate it.
Yeah, if I could just figure out a way to automate the voice-to-text thing so I don't have to type them all out one at a time, that would help. But certainly getting accurate subtitles would be a good first start so that our international audience can understand better the show and enjoy it better, because we'd certainly like to widen our audience. And finally, Rand Teo says, is there some kind of data, not only on female maskers, but maskers in general, who suffer some kind of harassment depending on the location where they live? It would be cool if someone could interview maskers around the world and see how masking is viewed by different cultures.
Well, I'm not aware of any specific data that shares that people are intrinsically more in danger for wearing a mask. But we do try to interview people from around the world and get those different perspectives and see how this interest of ours is spreading around the globe. We had an interview the last podcast with a person from France, and that was wonderful, and we'd love to have more of those. So if you're from one of those other countries other than the United States, please contact us. We'd love to talk to you and learn more about how you're doing masking in your country.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be a certain element, no matter where you are in the world, where people are like, masks, what are you wearing those for? And obviously, some countries are going to be more conservative than the others. And then there's countries like Japan, where, mascots and kangaroo girls are just, I don't know if you see them walking down the street, but the culture seems to accept that kind of behavior more than maybe we would here outside of an amusement park. So thanks for submitting your questions. If you have a question you would like to ask us, put it in the comments section below, and maybe we will answer it in our next episode. Our next segment is Heads Up, where we talk about female masking in the media. What do you got for this time?
So, in early August, I saw a news report about a Brazilian prisoner who used a mask to try to escape prison. And many of you may have seen this report. It made national news.
Oh, yeah.
The reports that I saw, though, were wildly inaccurate, and that's what was hilarious about it. Many of them reported that the silicone mask was a custom mask that was of his daughter. There were reports that she helped maybe smuggle in some of the costume and mask that he was wearing. But to just jump to that conclusion that it was a custom version of her face, no, it wasn't. It was a off-the-shelf Asian-style mask from the photos. We're going to throw up a photo so you can see. Other reports often refer to it as a silicone mask, not silicone. There is a difference. And in the interest of educating as well as entertaining, I'd like to explain the difference. Silicon is an element on the periodic table, atomic weight number 14. It's used in construction, in concrete, and also in making computer processors. If you were to make a female mask out of silicon, it would be very stiff and rigid and uncomfortable to wear. Silicone is a synthetic compound. It's flexible and highly heat resistant. It was developed in 1901 and has only recently been used in the last 2 decades for making masks. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for that, Rogue. Now for makeup, where we do tips and tricks to help improve your masking. Rogue, what do you have for us this time?
Well, I wanted to share the process for installing a zipper in your mask to custom fit it to your face. The appearance can improve so much if you make the mask tailored to your own face, as Kerry and I both do. It involves using a very specialized tool called a clothespin. And this is the process. So this was my May mask from Royer before I installed the zipper. I had to document this myself using a mirror, so I apologize in advance for the quality of some of the photos. With the mask on, begin adding clothespins to pinch the area behind the mask to fit it to your head. You'll need several clothespins. Keep adding clothespins from the base of the mask to the top of your head. When you're finished, it should look something like this. Wear the mask like this for a bit and move your face around to make sure it's comfortable. If you make it too tight, it's going to be uncomfortable and hard to adjust later. Move the clothespins around if you need to until you have the fit just right. Now you'll need to mark where the clothespins are. If you're doing this by yourself, you might try using a mirror. Using a felt tip marker like a Sharpie in a light color that won't show too much if you make a mistake and put a mark where you don't intend to. Make a dot with the marker between each clothespin at the tip. Now remove all the clothespins and the mask will probably look something like this. Using a sharp pair of scissors, cut along the marks that you made. Be careful not to cut the other sides of the mask, and also cut the very top in a small curve to help prevent any possible tears. Measure the length of the cut that you made and purchase a zipper of the same length to insert. I recommend using what they call an athletic zipper, which has bigger teeth and is both easier to pull and more durable. Secure the bottom of the zipper so that it will be permanently closed by sewing it together, either by hand or with a sewing machine. Now invert the zipper so that the bottom is at the top of your mask. You'll be installing the zipper upside down so that when you pull it down, it will close, and when you pull it up, it will open. Add a bit of GE Silicone 1 to both the zipper and the inside of the mask. Use clothespins again to secure the zipper to the mask while it dries. Work on one side of the zipper and then let it dry, and work on the other side of the zipper. This is what the installed zipper looks like on my May mask, and this is how the mask looks once it's been fitted. One disclaimer I'd like to add. Do this at your own risk. These masks are expensive, and I've had great success with this technique, but be aware that your mileage may vary.
So this mask you're wearing has a zipper in the back?
It does. This is the actual mask that I showed on that video.
Now, do you get this from, I certainly do, you think of a mask as sort of like a sphere. And if you take a chunk out of it and you bring the sphere together, it gets pointy at the top. Do you ever have that problem?
It will, and so that's why I suggested making a curve at the very top to prevent any tearing so it doesn't come to a point.
Yeah, this mask here has got a zipper in the back, and it is actually a little bit funny at the top, and of course with the wig on you can't tell. When I first started doing latex masks, I didn't put zippers in them. I would just stretch and put them on there, and I put a lot of stress on the masks. And like the 4th or 5th mask, I'm like, I gotta do something about this. And so I started gluing zippers in, and I use barge. I just turn it inside out, and I coat the zipper and the mask, and then put it on there, and then reinforce it with the latex. For my silicone masks, what I do is I actually cut a strip of fabric, and I use the silpoxy to glue it on the inside of both sides. And then I use barge to glue the zipper to the fabric, and then I stitch it all to reinforce it. And that's how I do the zippers on these masks.
Okay, different techniques. Maybe you can show us your technique sometime.
Sure. Now for our popular segment, Show Up, we make a video. The one this time is something that I came up with. It's a little bit different and experimental, but we hope you like it. So let's roll video.
The movies told us the future would be a dystopian nightmare, living like savages or crushed by evil robots. But here in the year 2050, there is peace and prosperity. Decades ago, super realistic female masks were perfected, and everybody wanted one, men and women. So today, everyone appears in public wearing female masks. Welcome to Mask World. Now we live in a world of beauty and grace. Without fear or division holding us back, we built a just society for all with no war or wanting. No one is quite sure how it happened, it just did. Like everyone suddenly woke up at once and decided we could all build a utopia. How did this all come about? Should we even take this gift for granted by asking?
And now a segment we call All Dolled Up, where we talk about the making of that video. Tell me about your outfit.
Well, you asked me to create something futuristic, and so I went to 3 characters from futuristic films and kind of put them all together. And the first was Pris from the first Blade Runner movie. She had the black eyeliner, of course, around her eyes. And then Li Lu from The Fifth Element has the white bandage outfit, which you can see underneath this black outfit. Then finally, blue hair, blue nails. That's a reference to Joy from the Blade Runner 2047 film. She appears in an advertisement in that. And I thought combining those 3, this is a futuristic look and homage to 3 great film characters.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to come up with an original character there, because I had no idea what the character would look like in this.
Well, and tell us about the story that you developed here. What was the inspiration for that?
Well, I think we all thought it would be really great to have a world where everybody wore female masks. And I started thinking, well, how would that come about? But the idea that eventually society evolved and everybody wanted to look female and would hence be wearing female masks, both men and women.
Do you think that kind of a world could exist, and would you like to live there?
Well, yeah, I think we'd all like to live there. I'd like it to happen as much as I would like Star Trek to happen, but it would have to be a big shift in society for that kind of thing to happen, I think. But it's, wishful thinking, and certainly better than a lot of the dystopian futures that we see in movies. But I still thought it was an interesting thing to do, and also just an experiment in world building in just 2 minutes with one character. How much could we create this, reality set place in the future?
And you featured some other maskers in the videos. Can you tell us about the other people that you had participate?
Yeah, I actually wanted to see scenes of people in public wearing female masks, and funny enough, some of my friends do videos like that on YouTube, just walking around. And so, for example, my friends Elisa and Juliette often walk around in their European city, and so I asked them to shoot something special for that, and that's, one of the things that we see on that you pop up on the video there.
So how do you think relationships might work in a world like this?
Well, I think they'd be kind of the same. I mean, men and women, or men and women and women, or whatever. But part of my premise was the fact that the way that men had sort of changed in this society, and so that might change the balance of relationships. I think you'd have fewer power imbalances between men and women, for sure.
That's true. If there was a true equality, then there would be none of that question about the differences. Well, interesting idea, and thanks for sharing your story.
Thanks. I hope you liked it. If you have any ideas for a video, we used to do recreations of other movies, and sometimes we do something original. Write to us. Remember, it has to be something that 2 people can do and cost no money. Thank you very much for that. If you would like to be interviewed on a future episode, and drop us a line, and we'll get a hold of you. It's not necessary for us to travel to where you are or for you to come here to Seattle. We can do it over the internet.
Well, time keeps on slipping into the future, and that is the end of another episode of Face Up. Thank you for joining us. If you'd care to leave a comment below, let us know what we can do to make this show better for you, or anything that you'd like to see on a future episode.
Yeah, and I'd like to have you go to my website. It's mascon.com, and you can read all about me there, see pictures of my outfits, and buy one of my latex or silicone masks. I'd also like to talk about a new venture we're going to have, which is going to be the Face Up eBay auction. Over the last 20 years or so, I've accumulated a lot of stuff, and it's taking up a lot of room. And so I'd like to get rid of some of my excess masks and outfits that I don't use anymore. So if you would go to the link that you'll see down below, go take a look at the eBay stuff we've got there. I'm just selling this stuff to get rid of it. But any money that I make, I'm going to put back into Face Up. So if you want to help support the show, make the show better, go buy something off eBay. You actually got something that might be really good and really useful, and I just don't need it anymore.
Well, this will be our last episode for this year, but rest assured we'll be back in 2020 with all new episodes of Face Up.
Yes, it's hard to believe. 2020, it seems like so futuristic. You will have flying cars finally, but we'll for sure have more episodes of Face Up, and we're just asking you to be patient until we get around to doing it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.